Destination Medicine is a collaborative initiative of regional training hubs. With first-hand lessons learned from those who have gone before, this podcast is designed to assist and inspire anyone interested in pursuing a medical career in rural and regional Australia. Welcome to Destination Medicine. I'm Peter Letts. Living where people know your name and are keen to stop and chat is high on Dr Courtney-Anne Blackhall's priority list. So the New South Wales Northern Rivers, with its beaches, restaurants and cool sea breezes, is the perfect location to work as a rural GP. But she got there only after undertaking some transformative challenges. First, Courtney-Anne describes her early years and her path to medicine.
I am a GP. I work in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales. I was born in Perth, though, and my parents moved over when I was about 5 to Victoria, and I spent the whole of my primary school and high school in Victoria. And when I didn't get into a local university for medical school after year 12, I moved from Geelong to Sydney. So I did all my study at Western Sydney University, and they said, oh, look, we've got a rural placement. Do you want to move to Lismore? I thought, yeah, why not? So then I've been here ever since.
So tell us about that experience, your rural placement in Lismore.
Well, I think the real answer about why is probably not that deep or meaningful. With that university placement, it meant that I went to the University Centre of Rural Health. So the team, so we were looked after by Libby, and Amy was our clinical lead, and we studied for 12 months there from the middle of 2018 to the middle of 2019. That was great. Like, Fridays were always tutorials. We actually got fed food. Like, this was an amazing concept to me as a medical student, that I got a really yummy free lunch on Friday. The tutorials were always really small size, really nice and engaging. I worked with the same group of students for the whole time. I got to meet students from Sydney Uni, from Wollongong Uni. We interacted with allied health students. People knew my name, so they knew, oh yeah, you're Courtney-Anne, you're from the Western Sydney Uni. And it was great. So the time I was with the University Centre of Rural Health meant that I was far more connected with my clinical school. It was just across the road from the hospital. We even had intern resident from the hospital come give us teaching and take us on tutorials. We had doctors from the hospital do tutorials with us as well. It meant that when we were looking at recruiting for Lismore, I got to know which people in the hospital were responsible for recruiting, and I got to meet them. So it meant that when I wanted to apply for Lismore, I knew who I was talking to, I knew who I needed to message for questions, and it just made the whole thing a lot less stressful for me. I really enjoyed being part of that clinical school. When I had to go back to Sydney, and when I had to travel 2 hours on a train out to Blacktown for my training, yeah, it was a real reminder of how good I had it in Lismore. Lismore is a melting pot of people. You have really alternative people coming in from Nimbin. You've got a lot of Indigenous patients. They often go out on country and come back. They often got very poor transport into your clinic. The health literacy is not always high. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You've got low socioeconomic people living in different parts of Goonellabah and South Lismore, and people affected by the floods, complex trauma, mental health. The more experiences, and even with Western Sydney Uni, the more experiences I was given to be able to learn, understand and get compassion means that even if I don't fully understand now as a doctor, at least I have insight, awareness. I have, I suppose, a willingness to be more open to changing my style, to listening, to being flexible with how we approach it, and hopefully that makes me a better doctor.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that point, you're a GP, as you've said, but was general practice always the specialty that you wanted to kind of go into?
I first wanted to be a doctor when I was in year 8 or 9. I did one of them dumb online quizzes where you put in what things you like, and it's like, oh, you could be a doctor. In fact, you could be a GP. I was like, oh, I don't mind the look of that salary. And then thought about it some more. I thought, they said, don't do medicine for the money. So I failed at the first hurdle. But I did realise that actually I really enjoyed solving people problems, and I really enjoyed solving just intellectual problems. I love escape rooms. I love board games. I love that challenge. And I realised that medicine was a really good combination of the two. You might have solved the intellectual problem, but if you cannot get a person on board with that to buy into what you're telling them, you have not solved the person problem. And sometimes you might think there's a medical problem there, but simply a person problem that is solved well with communication means you need far less medicine input. So I have definitely found that that was the right call for me. But along the way in medical school, or even when I did that thing, I was like, oh, for the problems I've gone to see my GP about, oh, that sounds boring. I'd never want to do that. So darn, don't put me in general practice. So I think I really set myself up for failure by specifically singling out general practice as the one I didn't want to do, because it was definitely the one I did do. But in my medical school years, I loved geriatrics. I loved pediatrics. I loved neurology. I loved palliative care. I did not so much love surgery. That was definitely not on the list. But general practice does all of those.
Tell us a little bit more about what life is like on the Northern Rivers. If a trainee doctor was coming up to do an internship, or for anyone wanting to move up there and practice, what are the draw cards of living on the Northern Rivers from a work perspective and also personally?
That is a great question, because I definitely had a lot of time to reconnect. I mean, I met my husband up here, so
there you go.
Could be some good options for relationship. Whenever time I landed from Sydney back to Ballina, whenever I was visiting during my forced Sydney stint, the last half of my final year of medical school, you watch the greenery change, and then you land and you get this blast of fresh air off the plane, and I just felt myself relax. And the busyness of Sydney, everyone's in a hurry, not everyone stops to talk to you, it's very stressful. Up here, I'll pick up the phone to a doctor in ED. Like even last night, I was calling one of the doctors who's finished her fellowship up here, and she's now FACEM. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And she was like, good, how are you? And she was so kind on the phone. I've even walked into emergency because I spent a good amount of time working here locally, and the bosses come over and I'm just there with my mother-in-law, just trying not to cause a fuss. We're just sitting, waiting patiently. And he's like, why didn't you come say hi earlier? What can we do? How are you? It's just, I've got so many instances of seeing doctors around or making calls to doctors outside of hours, being like, hey, like I know you're not on call, but I just had this medical problem or this social problem that I thought that you might be able to help with. And they've been like, yeah, sure, call me whenever you want. That's fine, no worries. People are just so friendly. They know you by name. When I was in an internship and I knew I was definitely going to do general practice at that stage, and I went up to the medical office who do recruitment and planning and schedules, and I was like, hey, guys, I would love to do palliative care. They didn't even have an option for palliative care at that stage. It was not an intern rotation. And in the end, I did have to share it with one of the other doctors, but that was a testament to them making it happen when it just wasn't working as they thought it would. They made us get 4-5 weeks each. And that was just so foundational to patients that I cared for later. They were just so good to me in that rotation. I got to have so much more independence and learn, and that was so helpful. And the cafes are great. I love Austinville. Has so many nice shops. There's some gorgeous shops down Lismore way. If you're looking for Christmas gifts, buying locally is always a reward. Byron, Ballina, Lennox have great restaurants. If you love to surf, it's not far. There's stories of doctors who are like, oh, sorry I was late. The surf looked real good. I was just out there. There's interns who are chatting to consultants because they're just out in the same wave, or medical students chatting to them because, again, they're just connecting in activities. There is so many options for hikes and bushwalks and beaches and cute towns, and it's just really rewarding from that point of view. I'm married into a local family and they know people who know people, so that opens up doors. My in-laws live on a beautiful property out the back of Austinville. We'll sit on the hottest day of the year out on their balcony. There's always a cool breeze. You sit and watch the macadamia trees and hear the koalas or whatever it is. And it's just so nice. You get really good downtime.
I want to know about the future for Courtney-Anne. What's coming up for you and what do you see in the future for you as a GP?
I think the future for me is a little higgledy-piggledy at the moment. Now that I finished my training and my husband and I have not had kids yet, so that's going to feature. So again, that's something that's going to make me a here and there GP. After my training has moved me. Now kids will move me, which is not move me. But, one of the things I love about GP is the continuity of care, the relationships you build, how that makes your job a lot easier, usually. So unfortunately, a little bit of still changed through that phase of life. But the most exciting thing is that my husband and I, his family is all Dutch. So we're going to take a bit of a gap year of sorts to go to the Netherlands, and hopefully we would love to live there for about 12 months. And it's too hard to get a job. I don't speak Dutch well enough. I can't get my medical license, so I'm just going to enjoy doing a little bit of, work in a cafe, or I have no idea what I will do, but I think that will be a bit exciting. Yeah. Hoping that I will be able to speak somewhat of a fluency in Dutch. My in-laws love to give me heaps in Dutch around the dinner table, and I'd love to be able to give some back.
Lovely. Well, it sounds like there are boundless opportunities and it's a very exciting time ahead for you, Courtney-Anne.
I hope so. And again, that's the great thing about being a GP and a doctor. You will never not have an opportunity for employment. There will always be someone that says, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please, we need someone. So I think that whatever I end up doing, if I still enjoy my job and can maintain a good mental health work-life balance, I will enjoy that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Courtney-Anne.
Thank you very much. It's been really nice to reflect.
Dr Courtney-Anne Blackhall, a GP working at Lismore in New South Wales. This is Destination Medicine. Thanks for listening. Regional training hubs are supported by funding from the Australian Government under the Rural Health Multidisciplinary Training Program.